This week, we'll talk about why data governance is the business equivalent of flossing. It's something that you know you need to do, but you'd rather be doing something else. We'll talk about the latest stats of the state of AI, and we'll also talk about this thing that 92% of data analytics professionals say their company needs to do. What is that? Well, you're going to have to stay, and welcome to the top 5 data AI analytics post of the week. This is the 79th edition of the Data-Driven Carcast. This is the weekend update where I review, highlight, and recap for you what's hot and what's not in the world of data. If you like this content, remember to comment, like, share, use, abuse the content. Also consider subscribing to the channel if you want to be the first to receive this content. And if you're new to this program, remember that if you click on the link down below, you'll get access to my blog where I have prepared for you a nice slide share with all the links and the resources packaged nicely to make it easy for you to share it with your friends, present it at work, and make you and the community look smarter. Let's get started. The most popular post of the week thus far has been the article by MIT describing why external data needs to be part of your data strategy. Now, folks in the community like Adam and Saket and Asher and Andrew have already reshared this content. Their community has been pretty vibrant, commenting on the post. Why is that? It's because the concept of data sharing is a hot concept. First, it's not new, but there's been a lot of failures around. In fact, a few weeks ago, I shared some stats that Gil Press, my friend, wrote an article about on Forbes. The stats go something like this. 50% of companies will actively seek to externalize and monetize data and deliver data as a service. But so far, 5% or less of the data sharing programs have correctly identified trusted data and located trusted data sources. So it's a big problem, and it's something that people have not been able to solve. This article features some great best practice, and one incredible stat is that according to Deloitte, 92% of people surveyed, data analytics professionals, say that they want their company to increase the use of external data sources. And that makes sense that because with the internal data you have, it's never enough to benchmark and complete the information that you need in order to make decisions. So this article is not theory. It's actually full of quotes and best practice from practitioners, and it's very prescriptive. In fact, it has 5 steps that are going to help you share data right. The method goes from understanding external data landscape, knowing your options, all the way to remembering that external data is only successful if it's part of a centralized data and digital strategy. There's a lot in this piece, but there's one thing that I want you to write down and contemplate for your own team is create a data hunting team. So what is this concept of the data hunting team? Well, it's a team that's going to look outside the company for data by use case that they can acquire, clean, and incorporate in the data strategy within the company. I know that as you're listening to me right now, you're probably already picturing people in your team that can be part of that team, or people that you hope that you can hire to join that team. This concept of the data hunting team, I think, is a new concept, and it's interesting. The piece also concludes with a great quote. I'm gonna read it off to you. It says, "Data by itself doesn't produce intelligence. Data has to be put in the context of the business outcome to give you valuable insights." Very true. You'll find a lot of data marketplaces out there, but think about the entire chain of the data into the application, the use of the data itself. Do you have the hunting team? Do you have the team that's looking for the data, but is also thinking about the strategy of including that as part of your entire data architecture? Great quotes, great article, great best practices. I hope that you get value out of reading that piece. Another article or piece of research that I'd like to point you to is Rackspace 2021 survey on the state of AI. You can download the report for free, and the team actually has done a pretty good job slicing and dicing through the survey's answers. There's at least a few things you should take away, in my opinion. The first one is that on average, companies are spending $1.06 million in AI and machine learning initiatives. It's very precise. I don't know how much you're spending, but at least it gives you a benchmark for what the average company tends to spend. They've also identified the number one issue with AI and machine learning initiative, and it is data quality. It's a primary challenge that's been identified by most of the people surveyed. Now, what's interesting is how close analytics and AI are according to the survey. In fact, the primary and most common way businesses report using AI and machine learning is as a component of data analytics. 40% of them have said that, and 35% of them talk about AI embedded within the application. So remember when I say that AI doesn't just stand for artificial intelligence, but it actually stands for applied and invisible. This is what we mean here, using AI in processes that are invisible to the end user and are very applied to the business problem, business use case they're trying to solve. Now, speaking of AI, I want to give a huge shout out to Dale Markowitz. I've talked about her work previously. This week, she published a blog that has all the greatest hits of the work that she's done making AI actionable. So she is using, for instance, the Perspective API to analyze text. She shows us in one of her videos how to use Video Intelligence API to create a smart family video archive. She did that for her father on Father's Day. That's actually my favorite video because I'm a father myself, and I could see how that would be tremendously helpful to parse through all the photos and videos that I've taken of my kids. She also did some interesting work using speech-to-text translation and then text-to-speech in order to translate and dub videos. Super clever. And then finally, she has used the text-to-speech API and AutoML capabilities to create a PDF to audiobook converter. She's taken a research paper and shows you how she's taking that text and turning it into an audiobook. Pretty clever. Her videos are entertaining. They're really well made. She includes other folks on her team to participate, and so they're entertaining as well, but there's a ton in it that's immediately actionable. I hope that you'll take time this week to read her blog and hopefully use some of her data. So this is my pointer to tell me that I'm probably too long on this video. So finally, I know I said finally earlier, I also want to make you aware that my piece on how CIOs can avoid making the wrong data decisions just got published this Friday on Forbes.com. And in it, I talk about the changing workspace landscape, how data scientist is no longer the number one job out there. I talk about the concept of the cloud data warehouse, and we also discuss the difference between ETL and ELT. I know CIOs are having to think about that and how this works with their team. I hope that you like this. A lot of work goes into writing these things, and so I always appreciate your comments and your pings and your feedback on how I can make these articles better. That's it for this week. I hope that you have a great week. Stay engaged. Let me know what you think about these resources. If you've got some that you want me to highlight throughout the week, don't forget to do that as well. You could tag me or just simply DM me. In the meantime, stay safe, stay engaged, stay data driven, and I will see you next week.